So welcome, everyone. We are in our monthly deep dive that we run from Entrepreneurs Forever. Today, we will have guest presenters, Ethan Daley and Adam Lawrence from Gig Roots. But let me just sort of walk you through what we're going to do, because I know some of you may not have joined one of our deep dives before. Oh, that's the wrong title slide. Today is about web marketing. And this is a program that I've been running for actually a couple years. I was at E4All before I came to Entrepreneurs Forever, and the two organizations work together, but Entrepreneurs Forever may be something that some of you who are my E4All colleagues don't know about. It's a program that lets businesses that are a little bit further along engage with each other in monthly peer support meetings of 10 to 12 businesses. They meet once a month for 2 hours. They have a membership hub and they work with a facilitator. So we try to support entrepreneurs through their entire journey, from ideation, formation to ongoing support. The deep dive program was started by me a couple of years ago because I think there's a lot of stuff you need to know and you need to juggle when you're a business owner. And it can be absolutely overwhelming to be doing the work and trying to keep up on all of the subject matter. So I bring in guest presenters to talk for about an hour, and then we do a really cool thing. We stop recording and we let you ask your own questions. And today could be really interesting if some of you are brave enough to do it. You might want to actually share a screen, show your own website, and get the feedback from the experts on how you're doing, which is a wonderful opportunity that you might not have without paying your web guy a lot of money. So the first thing I need to say is this presentation does not take the place of professional advice from your own paid advisors. So make sure you find out what you need to find out from your own advisors, but we're offering this as a service. So today's experts, Gig Roots, are some terrific guys. They'll introduce themselves in more depth in a minute. But when I was working on sort of the year ahead in programming, I think web marketing can be one of the things that we all can get so hung up on. Wouldn't it be great if you could cross it off your list and be done with it forever and ever? Well, it doesn't work that way. It changes all the time. And even if you have a great website that you paid a lot of money for and you really trust the people who built it for you, or you built it yourself, you need to keep looking at it. And that is why I brought the experts in to talk to us today. So Ethan and Adam from Gig Roots will introduce themselves in a moment. But before I hand this over to them, I just want to point out we're doing a really great deep dive next month that I'm actually working on in tandem with one of my E4All colleagues, about owners' compensation. And are you paying yourself? Are you paying yourself enough? Are you paying yourself the correct way? Are you just letting your company pay for your phone bill and then not taking a salary? We'll tell you all about why those are not a good things to do. And we'll answer your questions on that one as well. So that's a month from now, the end of February. So I am going to stop sharing now. And I'm going to introduce Ethan Daley and Adam Lawrence from Gig Roots, who are going to present today's topic, which are the 5 questions that determine the success of your web marketing. So without further ado, Adam and Ethan, take it away.
Thanks, Deborah. Welcome, everybody. Wonderful to see all your faces. It's great that we have Zoom in today's world so we can all stay connected in these various ways. Although being in person is also nice too from time to time. But when we're connected across geographies, it's nice to connect this way. I'm Ethan. Adam is here, right? We're representing Gig Roots. We have a relationship with Entrepreneurs Forever that's going back to a couple of years now. And we're excited to continue with it in this very specific way through this workshop with all of you. We understand a lot of your pain points and have sat where you're sitting and get all of those things. So we just want to empathize with, with the plight of entrepreneurship, which is the whole reason why we're doing this. I'll share my screen here as we get started on these kind of central questions around mapping your digital strategy. I'll say very quickly that this is an area of passion for both Adam and myself for a variety of reasons. And part of the reason behind that is because as we have done the research and as we have looked at things, we have really tried to narrow it down to some key questions that we feel as though every entrepreneur should ask himself or herself. And so the idea behind this is that we want to demystify a lot of things. We want to deal with misinformation or just, different points of view around some of this stuff, and really just build kind of a core framework that's designed to provide more clarity and focus to people. So that's the idea. And all of this stuff that you see here before you is what it pertains to, right? So these are all probably familiar concepts to most of you, right? All of these things are relevant. Each one of them is needed. As Deborah said, a lot of these things, the rules change about them constantly, right? Because Google and Yahoo and Bing and all the other search engines, everybody that controls it, right? Their rules are shifting. They're constantly updating things. But at the core, all of this stuff is going to be relevant. All of it matters. So SEO, email marketing, social media, managing your content, thinking about your content, planning your content, right? Thinking about how and when you want to advertise, all of those things, right? And of course, the pain point is, it's like, well, you're like, well, yeah, we know that, right? All of this stuff is important, but so is everything else, right? So the problem is, how do you build into that some sort of workable, manageable routine? How do you have the sort of workflow? Well, so what we want to do is we want to help kind of make sense of your overall web strategy in a way that helps you make better and more informed decisions without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling like I am just applying just kind of a trial and error buckshot strategy without any real plan behind it. We want to have guidance and support through that process, so we're not like, wasting time and throwing money down the drain and all that stuff. So here's me, here's Adam. I've been working with entrepreneurs for over a decade now in many different contexts. And part of the mission behind Gig Roots was because it was trying to address what felt like a really, really big problem, a big gap in the marketplace, not just around digital marketing, because there's lots of people that offer digital marketing help, but offering a set of tools and a framework that helps equip and empower every entrepreneur to build a more vibrant, sustainable, and inclusive business, to help build a more vibrant, sustainable, and inclusive marketplace. And along the way, I got connected to this wonderful guy, Adam Lawrence, who has his own creative agency called Inspire Creative. And we felt as though he and I were really aligned on a lot of the principles and ideas and approaches to things, and both shared the same passion around trying to simplify some of this stuff and really trying to come alongside entrepreneurs in a meaningful way to equip and empower them. So we've been working together at this. So just to state the problem real succinctly, right? Today's world, we live in a digital world. I mean, there's no going back, right? That's the reality. Everybody's trying to struggle to adapt to that reality, pre-COVID, post-COVID, and ongoing, right? In fact, but I think this is a little bit out of date, because it's like you're saying, a lot of people out there, a lot of small businesses, when it comes to search engine optimization, have like little to no strategy. I think that number's actually gone up to more like 3/4 of folks. A lot of people really got rattled with the pandemic and realized, oh my gosh, like if I have a brick and mortar, I got to shut down, right? If it's a quote unquote non-essential or whatever you want to call it, I got to go straight to online. And there's folks that floundered, right? That's a reality. And that's because this thing that we pointed to, this is like the issue. It's a moving target in some ways. It's not a one and done when it comes to trying to, optimize your overall web presence, right? It's constantly changing and evolving, which means that your business, just as in many things, your business has to constantly evolve and tweak and change, right? So you need a sort of solution that's going to help, evolve and change alongside you, right? So all of these factors that are involved, the metadata on the back end, where your page ranks on the site, right? A lot of misconception about page rankings. Doing keyword research, right? Again, managing content, thinking about your overall layout and website, all of those things, right? Well, big companies that have resources usually can say, you know what, let's just hire somebody. Let's hire the experts to help us do this, because we don't have time for this. We can't figure it out, right? And so they'll go to somebody that's a so-called expert with a set of knowledge and say, all right, well, we'll help you do this, but it ain't going to be cheap, right? And that's reality, because there's a lot of stuff involved with this. And so if you really want this to work well, it's going to require an investment, and that's true. But part of the problem is, just again, like the misinformation that's out there, trying to just navigate all of the information that's out there about each one of these things. And so and the other problem is, of course, if you don't have the resources yet as an entrepreneur to hire somebody to pay them all that big money, right? You're like, is this a good investment, right? Is this going to work out the way that I expect it to? And so I think kind of the big misnomer that was out there, that I think now, thankfully, more people are getting more savvy to, But there was a misnomer a while there, this pervading mentality that said, well, if I have a website, people will find it, right? We know that's very much not true, right? We know that it takes a whole lot of work. And so in any particular example, I mean, this particular example is talking about like if I have a cleaning service, right? When we had a conversation with an entrepreneur about this very thing, right? If I have a service-based business, does it make sense that, you know, I should try to rank nationally for something that's really like focused more locally or regionally, right? It's just one example. Or if I have something that's, you know, in, you know, party planning or nutrition or fitness or coaching or any number of things, well, so does a bunch of other people, right?
And you
And
know,
so,
Ethan, I love
yeah,
what you're saying about being clear about local, but I think that the question comes is that even if you're going to hire those people like you had on the slide before, if you don't really explain to them what your business is and who you're trying to attract, then you're just throwing money out the door because they're gonna search optimize you for something that's not what you want.
that's right.
The other piece of it that I really don't want people to underestimate is, let's say that this cleaning service has great SEO and it comes to the top of the results when people are looking for a cleaning service in Pittsfield. You still need to close the deal. I see Mindy on the call. Mindy has these fabulous walking tours in and around the Berkshires, and people aren't going to spend the kind of money to go on a tour and commit their time and their vacation without a conversation with Mindy. So all the best search optimization is bringing the leads in, but you still need a sales process and a conversation to close the deal. So it's not like there's a magic here that if I can get you 500 extra leads, that those are going to turn into 500 extra sales. You still have to close them. So I just wanted to make those 2 points as we're getting started. This is great.
Well, that's right. I mean, you're jumping ahead of us a little bit, Deborah, because
Sorry.
we're going to get there. But but you're absolutely right. Right? It's, you know, context is important, and being able to inform the person that you want to hire by asking them the right questions, which you're not going to be able to do unless you've done some of the pre-work of really understanding what it is you want and why. Right? So that's absolutely a good point. We'll get to that. Right? Again, just kind of hammering that point home. Right? It's not simply about being online. And the goal is that you don't have to become an expert in these things, but you do have to kind of know enough of things, right, in order to make more informed decisions, right? So that's the point. So how do you do that? Well, what we're saying is that you need to have a basic framework out of which you work in order to arrive at that. So here's how we try to answer that issue. We try to give folks a foundation around knowledge and learning about how to build a strategy, right? So we have a whole self-guided platform around that. We try to lay out a digital roadmap for people that kind of projects out for them, starting where you are today, right? Every step along the way of iteration, how that's going to get you there, and how, you know, you can get real-time feedback to know that you're some early indicators to know if you're going in the right direction or not before you make a big step and pivot. It's always good to do that. It's part of a community, right? I mean, you guys are part of Entrepreneurs Forever. That idea of that community aspect to foster trust and accountability, shared learning, soundboards, ideas, that's of course very important. So we offer that. And then we have digital coaches like Adam and others that, like, you know, they're the experts, right? And it's not just that, but it's like somebody that is going to walk alongside you, help answer questions, be a sounding board, help hold you accountable, which I think a lot of us need, right? Even though we're at the front and we're at the helm as entrepreneurs trying to lead it, having some trust and accountability is really important with somebody that you feel like can honestly give you an informed, but also kind of a neutral opinion. They can be somewhat agnostic as to, you can do any kind of platform you want, Shopify or Wix or Squarespace or whatever, right? Like, we can be agnostic about some of those things. It just depends on your specific situation. All right. And we're going to give you kind of an unbiased sort of, you know, knowledge and opinion about that so that you can make that informed decision. So we feel like that high degree of trust and these high touch points, all of these things really work together. And so all of that stuff is kind of the core offerings of Gig Roots. So 5 questions, right? That was the title. That's the idea. Well, here's the questions. Okay. And this is being recorded. So if you kind of go back and have to kind of write these down, but we'll come back to them at multiple times, Deborah, don't worry. Right. But let me just read these off real quick. All right, number 1, is my site being found by the people looking for the solution or the answer that I provide or want to provide, right? So this is kind of to Deborah's point. It's like, well, somebody can find you, but if it's not in any way relevant, right, to what they're looking for, or if it's just happenstance or random, right? So it's not just about being found. It's about creating that funnel, that process that helps the people that are looking for the solution that you're actually trying to provide, right? So that's the discovery process. Number two, is my site and my overall presence set up to get customers or sales through putting together a holistic customer journey, right? This is again to Deborah's point about the idea being that like, you got to be able to close a sale. You got to be able to provide a call to action. You got to be able to think about the sales funnel, your landing page. You got to be able to think about the content that's engaging, that pulls people in, and then being able to deliver on the back end, whether it's through order fulfillments or following up or all of those little touches, right? It's so meticulous, it's so tedious, but customers have become very, very discerning nowadays because we've all gotten spoiled. We've all gotten used to that, right? Big companies, big tech has really done a good job of that customer journey. So we have to kind of learn how to be savvy and reflect that. Number three, is there any reason for people to consistently engage with any of my digital assets? Be that my website, my social media, my email, my blogs, my backlinks from other websites, right? Like, is there a reason for people to kind of come back and engage with you over and over, right? That's the customer service process, right? All the way through from beginning to end, but it's also just engagement, influence, right? Relationship management. Number four, is my digital marketing integrated in a way that can be built upon for future growth? This goes back to the idea of having a framework, right? It's not, all of these things have to work together in a kind of like elegant and sophisticated way. It's like an orchestra, right? All the different parts have to create that beautiful music for that experience. But can each one of my digital assets, right? Can all of my marketing efforts be holistically integrated? Can a foundation exist upon which you can build and create something that's truly scalable, right? Because that's the idea. Business growth, putting those processes, those SOPs, and all those sorts of things in place so that you have something off of which you can scale. Number five, this is kind of the big one that ties it all together, folks. Does my site convey my unique message or voice? This goes back to the point about, if you've heard the phrase content is king, I mean, it's true, right? Content. The only way that the whole architecture works, the only way that all the algorithms track all this stuff through search engine is through meaningful content. And those, guess what, right? Those algorithms are becoming increasingly sophisticated with every new iteration, right? Google is getting really, really good. I mean, this is where they make all their money, right? They're getting really, really good at trying to intuit and interpret when you type in whatever, whatever weird phrase into that search bar, right? So they wanted, their whole job is to try to get you to the thing that you're looking for. And sometimes that's not always clear, right? But man, it's become really sophisticated. So then you as the entrepreneur have to say, are all my assets, like, is my unique messaging, is my unique voice coming through that really can connect and resonate with people? So your voice is really the key thing that drives all of this. So we're going to break it all down, but I just, very quickly, those 5 key elements, right? Those 5 questions tee up these 5 key elements for a framework that we're going to talk about. A process for being discovered by ideal customers, building a customer base and maintaining outreach, fostering customer loyalty and brand influence and resonance, making the jump to invest in paid advertisements through the display network and spreading the message further so that it can proliferate. And then having all of that be encompassed by the idea of developing your voice to tell a story that resonates. All right. All of them are critical elements to your digital strategy. And it's just something that we just have this cute little name for it called drippy. Yeah. It's clever, isn't it? It's like, I don't know if you have kids or teens out here, like, they're having the drip. That's something else I understand, right? But it's the idea is that it's something that's like helps capture the idea, right? That's easy to remember. Discover, reach, influence, paid ads, your voice. That's drippy.
Ethan, can it work if you don't want to put money behind paid ads?
That's an interesting question. And the short answer is not really.
Interesting. Adam, I saw you unmute. Do you disagree?
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. it accelerates the process so you can collect data faster, so you can make decisions to get your business off the ground and get you in a direction that goes. You can do it organically for a time, but there is a time and place to put money and put ads behind it. And part of our model is not about saying, hey, you have to invest $10,000 and do this. You can invest $200 into paid ads and get good data back, right? So it's a very manageable approach, but the intention is you have to take that step to gather data faster.
All right.
And you want to take that step in an informed way.
Well, and we'll definitely get there, but I think one of the things that's true about Entrepreneurs Forever members is that they have sustainable businesses that are making money. So if you invest a modest amount and you track your return on investment, you should be able to recoup what you're investing by getting good leads, as long as you move them through the sales funnel and close them so they actually turn into money. But I know I jumped ahead again.
It's totally fine. The goal for us, and the reason why paid ads is fourth in the list, is each of these things build on each other, right? And I'll talk about that. Ethan, I'll let you tee it up further. I'll get it to you.
Well, hey, let's break all this stuff down, why don't we? So guys, let me kick it over to Adam to explain further. I mean, like, we're jumping right into it. This is great. And please, if you have questions in the chat, and I want to make sure I'm paying attention to that stuff, yeah, please, like, put all that stuff there. This is an open dialogue, right?
Right. So my preference is that if you have general questions or you want to talk about something in a bigger theoretical sense, absolutely type them in the chat and we'll talk about them as we go. But the idea is, if you want to show your website or ask a question or show the back end and get your meta tags analyzed on the fly, all of that can happen in the last 30 minutes, but general questions or clarification can happen in the first hour. So without further ado, Adam, it's all yours.
You got it.
Sounds great. So I just want to tee this up by saying everything we're explaining here is adapted from how I view digital marketing, how Ethan views it. And this is built in a real world mindset. This is not just theoretical. This is something I do with clients day in, day out. This is a dynamic frame. This is why we create a framework, because it's not about necessarily the context, right? The context shifts based on what we're doing, but every single piece that we're doing here has been tested in the real world to actually produce results, right? So I don't want to just go in and think, hey, this is just a framework that's great to think about, but like, this is actually something that's helped businesses go from zero revenue to $1,000 a month to 2,000 to 10,000 to 50,000 a month. And I have clients that have made that leap, right? So I don't want you to think that this is not end all be all, but this is definitely the first step in that direction, right? So the first question for you is discover, how is your website being found by people, right? And the sub question that Deborah's brought up, is it being found by the right people? So that's the first question we have to ask ourselves. And this is the premise and the basis of SEO, right? Is discover, but it's beyond just SEO, because SEO doesn't just incorporate keywords. It doesn't just incorporate search algorithms. Google is sophisticated enough now that it's looking at, is your website optimized for mobile? Is your website offering a good experience? Do you have a clear and concise answer, right? If you're local, do you show up on Google Maps? Is your Google My Business optimized? Do you have a local listing? All of these different factors impact where you're going to rank, right? And one of the biggest things that I see for a lot of small businesses is they actually don't really know what keywords they need to rank for. They've never done a keyword analysis, not just an analysis on their website of what they're ranking for, but an analysis on general keywords in their industry, in their region, of what they should be striving for. A great example of this is one of my clients is a coffee roastery, right? You can ship coffee nationally, right, if you really want to. But if you're thinking about it from a local impact, a regional impact, where you're going to have the most brand buy-in, then what is a keyword that probably is going to be most impactful? It's going to be the keyword in their city. It's going to be a keyword associated to their region, their state. So how do we get them ranking on the local and regional level first, so that those are easier things to rank for? They're going to be what we call lower difficulty, maybe higher volume or medium volume keywords. But I'd rather you rank and find a keyword that has 500 people a month searching for it, that is very easy for you to rank for, than try to reach the 10,000 searches a month and never get to page one, right? So it's not, it's not about ignoring those. You're going to strive for them, but it's about trying to figure out what's the momentum. What are the small stepping stones you can build to gain momentum so you can take on those bigger and better keywords, which will help you grow your customer base online. And this is just organic we're talking about. This is just SEO. This is just understanding how people are going to interact with your brand online, right? So key concepts here. Everyone's going to be looking at trying to buy things or find a service near them. If you know, let's say for example, is anyone brave enough to give me your business or service? Like, what do? You can put it in the chat. You can shout it out.
Mental coaching for athletes.
Okay. Mental coaching for athletes. Love it. So is this a online business? Is this a local focused?
It's online focused.
Okay, online focused. So have you ever done a keyword analysis on that keyword? Again, can you say it one more time for me? On mental
performance coaching. How about that?
Okay. So do you know what that keyword is? Do you know how many people search for it?
No.
Adam, can you share your screen, show us how you would look that up?
Sure. All right. So one of the things I'll caveat is that I have agency level tools. So not everyone's going to have access to these, but there are other tools that can get this in some way or form. So can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
So one of the tools I use is called Ahrefs, and it's a really, really powerful tool. There's other ones out there called SEMrush. You can use Ubersuggest by Neil Patel. You can use Moz. There's quite a few. But the goal here is we can look at YouTube, Amazon, Bing, Yahoo, Google. You can look at others depending on what you're looking at. You can do a whole site exploration, or you can look at different keywords. The thing that's so powerful about this tool for me is I can take 100 keywords, paste them in here, and hit search, and I can see the rankings within minutes. Right.
So she does mental coaching, performance coaching for athletes.
Okay.
Coaching. It's performance, not performance.
I'm gonna fix it. Don't worry. I'm just gonna do this mental performance coaching because I think for athletes it might be a little too long tail. But you'll notice for executives we have training right here. You'll notice how this is a very low volume keyword. So what if we just open it up a little bit to mental performance? Okay, we're getting backtracking, right? Certified mental performance consultant, mental performance coach. These are having 300 searches right here. But if you look at over also ranks for, we can look and see performance coach, which probably isn't what we're looking for, has 6,600 searches a month. So that means this is the volume of how many people are searching for it. That's all it means, right? It doesn't mean we're going to get that many people coming to us, but that's kind of where we're at. So one of the biggest things that I've found with small businesses is they say a keyword, right? But that keyword is so narrow, so niche, there's very few people searching for it. Or they're saying something too broad and it doesn't fully represent what their business does. So what this tool allows us to do when we do keyword analysis, right, and this is really a big part of Discover, is understanding what are the right keywords for you, right? What actually is going to help you move the needle. And what I'm seeing here is if I go back, if we do mental performance coach, this looks like a fairly easy keyword to rank for from a difficulty perspective. Right? It's something I think is a very achievable for a small business to rank for in the top 10. And it has 300 people searching, but it has a potential traffic of 350, which means people are coming back. There's more people searching for this. So what this shows me is that this is actually probably where we would want to start for this type of a business. It's not going to make your business overnight, but it gets you moving in the right direction. It gets you a place where people can probably find you and call you. And let me ask you, Tiffany, if you had 300 more people coming to your website per month, and let's say 10 people called you, is that going to move your business forward?
Yeah, definitely. Because I can close it if they call me.
Exactly. So even if we have a success rate of, let's say, less than 10% of people who make it on the website and call her, 10% of 300 would be 30 people, right? Let's say only 10 people call, less than 10%. That's still moving the needle forward for the business. So that's how powerful keywords are. You don't have to go after the 1,000+ keywords right away. That actually is probably going to hurt you because you're never going to get off the ground, right? So I just wanted to kind of showcase the reality that some of this is not that hard. It's actually pretty straightforward. You just need to know where to look, right? You need to look at what keywords are actually helping you, right? And we can talk more at the end of this call if we want to dive into maybe some theoretical or other people have questions. But some of the things that I want you to think about is if you're online focused, you're going to have more competition right away. So looking for those keywords that are lower difficulty but still have a decent volume or key, which may be different than what you think, but you still can adapt to that. Second, if you are location based, right? If you are location based, then find ability to add in like the best mental performance coach in this area or this region, right? Write an article, talk about why you do this, where you're at. Help optimize for that region to help narrow down that focus if it's already too broad, right? Because it's going to do the same thing for us. It's going to allow us to hone in on a lower difficulty keyword that still has enough volume to make a difference for you.
Right. So I want you have 4 other points to get to. And we only have half an hour left of this part. So 2 things. It used to be that to be found online and to rank organically, you need to change your website, that if it's stale content, that hurts your search rankings. Is that still true?
I would say yes, but it's not the most significant thing that hurts you.
Okay.
So the biggest thing for me is your site speed is much more significant now than content in terms of how often you update it. Obviously, your content has to be optimized from the get-go, but if you don't change your content but once a year, every 6 months, you're fine, right?
Okay. So that's new information. And the second thing is, Ethan, you probably saw it in the chat. People are asking for a list of some resources to do that keyword research. We can put that in the follow-up email, right?
Yep, we can do that.
Perfect.
Yep. And the whole reason why I go so in depth into this first piece is this is the framework. This is how we need to think through every step of how we do this journey, because keywords not only ripple into how we frame and how we find people, but how we talk about our business, because we want people to be able to find us. So if we're saying the right keywords where people can actually find us, then we're educating our potential customer base on how to search for us. Even if they don't search for our name, they can still come back to us, right? And that includes emails, that includes outreach, ads, other things. So this is really our research base that gets us started, that kind of starts us moving us forward in a direction that's not aimless. That's not just like, as Ethan said, not just trial and error, right? This is starting to be more research based. So
as you can see, we're passionate, but I'm kind of trying to fast track it because of time. So we're going on to number 2.
So one of the things, did you say not frequently updating content is okay as long as one of the things I'll say this, and I'll move on to reach, is if you post a blog once a week, keep doing it. Be consistent. If you post a blog once a month, keep doing it. Be consistent. If you post a blog every 2 months, keep doing it. Google responds to consistency. If you set yourself up for success, you need to start with what's manageable. You can always increase frequency, but decreasing will always hurt you, right? So when you go into the game of, I want to add content, be extremely realistic and conservative in what you commit to. Because if you say, I'm going to do a blog every month and you don't, Google will note that. I'm just going to be honest with you. There's other problems we're going to talk about. One of the things that I'll come into is when you get people coming to your website, you optimize your website, you have the metadata updated on your website, you have the keywords, you have organic people finding you online. The next piece we need to talk about is reach. Because one of the things I also see very often is no one has an email capture system set up on their website as a small business. Or if you do, it's set up as a newsletter, right? I don't know when the last time I wanted to sign up for a newsletter from a business. I'm going to be honest with you. it's something that a lot of businesses are told to do. Like, you should have a newsletter sign up, you should do this. But honestly, that's very outdated because no one really cares. What I care about is if I'm coming to you for a service or a business, incentivize me to sign up. Say, hey, get 10% off your first order if you sign up for this thing. Or, hey, we're going to give exclusive deals to our insiders who sign up for this. Make it worth my time because that's my data I'm sharing with you. I need to be compensated in some way, right? So number one with reach is not about just sending emails and doing all of that. It's about actually creating a funnel. It's about getting people on your website, getting them to give you their email. Because I'll tell you this, there are so many websites out there where you visit it, you look at it a little bit, and then you leave. And then it's out of your mind, right? How do you bring people back to you and back in your sphere of influence is through email or text message or whatever interaction you have with them to be able to be like, hey, we're still around, we're still here, we're still relevant, we're still doing coaching, we're still doing these things. Here's some things to think about. And all of a sudden, you're going to bring it back around to you eventually, whether that's a purchase, a service, or whatever. It might be 3 months later, but you're still in your sphere of influence, right? So you have a much higher likelihood of utilizing that traffic, of coming to your website to get them to convert if you do this piece. And this is a piece where you don't have to do it crazy. You could do 1 email a month, you could do 1 email a week, and I highly recommend to automate this process. So use Constant Contact, use Pavio, ActiveCampaign. There's all sorts of tools out there, paid, free. MailChimp's an option that a lot of people know about. Like, it's not necessary to spend a bunch of money on this, but if you automate it, yeah, B2B loves these types of things because when you're in the B2B market, they're trying to make an educated decision for their business, right? So this actually might even work better in a B2B setting because they're going to want to be educated. They're going to want to know and kind of be in the know, especially if they're purchasing from you, right? We work with a lot of business, gig roots. We work with direct to consumer, with B2B. These strategies work for both. The content is where it changes. How do you communicate is really what changes between those audiences. So what is your website strategy for capturing leads? How are you incentivizing people to sign up? It doesn't have to be aggressive. It can be very simple and incentivizing, and they can do it. How easy is it for them to do it? Right? They put their email in, they hit send, it automatically adds them to an email list or automatically sends them a follow-up email. If you build those automations, right, which MailChimp, Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign, Constant Contact, they all do this for you, right? You can set that up. That's going to allow you to do this without having an autopilot. People come because they find you from organic search. They go on your website. You tell them a little bit about you. You incentivize them to sign up for an email. They put their email in. They automatically get added to your email list, and now you're sending them emails, right? Then you can get more sophisticated by segmenting your audiences based on the flow, based on who interacts or opens your emails. There's all sorts of things you can do to do remarketing to these individuals to get them through that first, honestly, probably the most challenging piece of business, which is just to actually purchase or interact with you for the first time, right? Because once you actually get them past that hurdle, you have a customer for probably a longer time, right? So that's
Adam,
really yes.
Adam, let me just ask a question. I know, again, I've been doing this internet thing for like probably longer than you've been alive, but there used to be this thing called a freemium where you gave something away in exchange for that email address. Top 10 tips for X, Y, or Z, or how to get your kid diaper toilet trained in 1 week, or you gave a report or a video or something. Does that still work?
It's still it depends on your industry. I'll say this, because if you're in a B2B market, very unlikely you're going to have success with that type of marketing because there's so much information out there. If I have to go through the effort of signing up to get this information, I'm moving on, right? For direct to consumer, if you have a unique perspective or if you have a voice and you're well known in your space, then yeah, you could probably motivate people to get something from you, a freemium, to give you their email and they'll give you their email to get that free downloadable, right? Or whatever you're going to offer them. My recommendation though is that's a lot of effort to build a downloadable or create something, and I think it's wasted effort because all you have to do is say, hey, 10% off your first order, or 10% off this, or free introductory call, or whatever you want to call it, and you'll have the same exact effect.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So that's kind of where Discover flows into the website, right? And then the website obviously is a lot more than Reach, but we obviously don't have time for that today. But Reach is really where you're going to kind of capture that information to be able to re-engage them, right? And that's going to be able to create a system for you to grow your business, because the more people come to your website, the more people you have in your email list, it will grow over time to eventually get to a significant amount where you can actually make a good book of business from it. And I have seen businesses do this, right? If you have 10,000 people in your email list and you send out an email, it can drive thousands upon thousands of dollars in purchases, signups, downloadables, or whatever, right? It's a very achievable goal. Next step to that chain in that whole process is influence, right? And this is really where we get into social media realm, because email, SEO, all these things are just one piece of the puzzle, right? That only so many people are going to be searching for a keyword, right? We're looking at mental performance coach. There's only 300 people searching a month on that keyword on Google, but how many people are looking at that content online, on social media, right? On Instagram? There's probably a much broader audience there. But the difference is you have to be able to communicate with them and be able to actually find them in this space. And that's probably even harder than optimizing for SEO, because it takes longer. You have to put in more effort and you have to be a lot more consistent with it. Where SEO is kind of you have to update it and kind of stay with it month over month. Social media is going to be almost a week over week, a day over day. It's going to be a lot more intensive, right? Again, we're ramping up here, as you can feel, in terms of how much you're investing or what you're doing. We're not saying you have to do these things. We're saying you should be aware of how much energy it takes before you would even start. And if you're already doing it, how do you systemize it? Either.
Adam, I think again, this might be another good spot to see if we have any brave souls that would want to share their social media and just kind of see what the engagement looks like as an example. So I throw that out there.
I do.
All right.
What is it?
It is blanket and A&D board.
Blanket and board.
Mm-hmm.
So blanket and board is, just so I'm understanding it, it's you have charcuterie boxes and other things, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So let me find you on Instagram here. All right, we found you.
Are you going to share screen so we can all watch?
Oh yeah. So this is actually I think we're in a great example here. Awesome. So everyone can see my screen, I believe now.
Yes.
So we have blanket and board, almost 4,000 followers on Instagram. We have, this is good. We have these items here. That's really good. Let's just open this up really quick. Being featured in the article. It's great. The mission. Awesome. So it's user-generated content, but also same thing. Showcasing a use case. Let's see engagement rate. So we have 100 likes, 5 likes, 80. So it seems like, just from an analysis really quick, fairly, so interesting. Okay. I'm seeing some trends here. What are your takeaways in terms of your own investment of time, things you've learned really quick? What would be the most successful post you've ever done?
I would say probably like one of the grazing tables, or like a post that I did today. The one holding the check.
Yep.
So like I would say milestones and our grazing tables, but we still can most of the time have low engagement on most of our posts.
I'm really happy you brought that up. So one of the things that people think about when they think about social media is they think about like the beautiful photos, right? The curated everything that people share, and there's like 10,000 people who like it and follow, and like that's amazing. The problem is that is a lot of people who just like and follow just to like and follow. It actually doesn't really move the needle very often. And the second thing is it's not unique. There's so many other things out there the reason why you're getting the most engagement on this photo is it's about you. It's about your business. It's tangible. There's an impact there, right? So how do we incorporate in social media? When you want to influence, you have to tell your story. And this is where the voice overlaps into influence is, why should people buy from you, right? Like, that's a legit question. There's a lot of services online now that do charcuterie and other things. Why should I come to you? What makes you different? What sets you apart? Why should I talk to you? And that's where social media is about influence, right? So when we talk, like if we're looking at this, people are really excited. People are awesome. People are like, wow, congratulations. This is great. People are excited for you. They want to support you. But
Most of
beyond
those
that,
are bots though. At least on this post, a lot like
promote
a
it.
lot of
Yes, that's a big problem. But I will note the engagement is real though, in terms of likes.
Okay.
So the thing that I want to note on this is you need to balance your content schedule with, you obviously need to promote your products, you need to sell, you need to have beautiful photos, you need to tell your story, and you also need to be real at the same time. That it allows you to stand out from other competitors. And that's where the influence piece is so tricky, is that it's so hard to have a good organic reach in this world, especially with social media nowadays, that our approach for organic is you only are going to get so far organically. And that's why paid ads is a piece of what we do, because you have 4,000 followers, right? But how many people, when you post a post, how many orders do you get when you post?
0, I feel like.
Exactly, right? Because that actually, those followers, while they are following you, that means nothing really. At the end of the day, that 4,000 people doesn't mean much. So what we're trying to do is, what we focus on for influence is, you need to communicate the message of who you want to talk to, right? It's about having the right disposition on your social media so that you're hitting the right points, from products to service to your mission to all these things, which you have a lot of that here. Not criticizing, I'm just overviewing, right? And then second, paid ads is where you accelerate it to reach more of those people who actually buy from you, but they have to verify you're legit. So they look at your organic post, they look at your reels, they look at your stories, they see if you're actually active, or if you're not. If you're not, that's why they move away. So for example, social media in organic is really about maxing out what you can from a local level and then using it to justify legitimacy. That is really the main reason where organic is going to help you. And then as you build more of a paid audience and you start moving them in, you will gain more followers. You'll gain more people looking at and growing your organic, which will help you ultimately keep growing your business online further. So it's a very much a hand-in-hand approach, right? I've worked with a lot of businesses who have 10,000, 15,000 followers on Instagram. And every time I ask them, how much money do you make from your Instagram? And they say incredibly little, right? So we need to demystify that. We need to invest in follower metrics and put it into content metrics that actually tells your story, so you can promote it and get to the people who actually will pay you money. Okay.
I saw another one in there, but I'm also looking at the time. This is the issue. This is a good problem to have. This is really good engagement. So we'll have ways to follow up, but I think maybe we'll keep going here, right?
And one of the things I don't want to discount, and Ethan, if you want to reshare your screen, LinkedIn marketing is incredibly expensive. I just want to note that you're going to spend 4 times more on LinkedIn marketing than you will on any other social media platform. And the thing that it is good for is InMails. It's the premium sales navigator, connecting with leads. LinkedIn is a very powerful for B2B or even B2C if you have a very high-end ticket, dollar amount kind of service. But general marketing on LinkedIn is incredibly expensive. So be prepared that it's not really for small businesses at the moment. I'm just going to let you know. So kind of wrapping all that up as we kind of go into paid search here. Influence, I'm not discounting a viral thing, because there are a lot of people who have posted organically, who have shared things and they've gone viral and their business has made it overnight. I'm not discounting that could happen to anyone, but what I will tell you is, in business, I've been doing this. I have owned a lot of different businesses and different industries. None of my businesses have ever gone viral. and yet I still have very solid businesses, right? So don't plan or bank on going viral. Build a good book of business, and if you happen to go viral, then you're even in a better position to capture it, right? So I don't want to discount it, but I also don't want to, tell everyone you're going to hit the lottery, because that's just not realistic. So going into paid search. So paid search or paid ads, right? There's two sides to the same coin. Paid search is a very strategic approach to SEO, actually. The reason why I say that is a lot of people think of SEO as I have to get organic rankings to see if this is going to work for me, where paid search actually allows you to test out keywords before you even have to spend the time and effort to optimize your website for them. So if you have a keyword that you want to rank for, but you know that you're not going to rank for it right away, go to PPC, go to Google Ads, run a few ads that are for that. Now, you're not going to get the full market of what that could do for you, but at the very least, you can validate if you're getting phone calls from it, if people are actually coming from that keyword, and then you can put more time and energy into it to rank it for SEO. So paid search is a very strategic thing for gathering data to see if the keywords are worth it. Do you get quality customers from it? Do you get phone calls? Do you get leads? Do people actually engage with it, right? So don't discount that as part of your initial discovery strategy, but also as part of your offsetting. Like, not every business is going to rank well for every keyword, right? You might have stiffer competition, so you might have to augment your SEO with paid search. That's a very normal thing we do, right? A lot of companies do that. Second, paid ads. When we say paid ads, we're really referring to social media ads. So this is the Facebook, this is the Instagrams. If you're in TikTok or other areas, this is where you're creating content and not just boosting it, right? We're not talking about boosted ads. I would say that's basically about throwing your money away, right? We're talking about actually setting up
So
ads.
you have to tell me why a boost is throwing your money away.
Boosted ads are optimized for reach. There's no metrics behind it in terms of who you're targeting or why you're targeting them. It's just basically saying, hey, I want more people to see this. And it can work if you're really general, you have a broad appeal. But if you're very specific, like we want you to be, you probably want to run ads that help you narrow down to a state or a demographic or an age range and income. You have a lot more control over the money you're spending when you run a paid ad versus just boosting a post.
So even though Facebook will say, would you like to pay to boost this? It's not the same thing. Don't be fooled. Use the strategic tools they offer you in the Facebook advertising platform, the Meta platform, right?
Correct. And I think
I just want to jump on this real quick because we know this question is going to come up, but the question is always, well, what do I invest, right? Where do I begin? So I know you're going to get to that, but I just want to call that out.
Yeah.
How much to invest, right? As starting out. So
yeah. So and again, we'll talk about the approach here. So the thing I want to note is paid ads are always viewed as, like, a lot of people I've worked with have been written them off. He's like, hey, I put this money in, I got no results, right? And they just write it off. And it's like, why didn't you get results? Did you target the right keyword with paid search? Did you test out your ads before you put money behind it? Did you validate that this is actually what engages your customer base? There's so many little pieces that we already talked about, from discover and reach and influence, that you can figure out what works, and then you can just build an ad that expands upon that, right? The goal of ads is to reach a further or greater audience based on what you've already learned about your audience, right? So this is really, secondly, about not making sales as much as it is about collecting data. Now, sales is a benefit, right? Is the end goal of where we want to be, but you don't expect to make sales when you run ads for the first time, right? When you go up, if you're an athlete and you've never hit a baseball before and you're at the plate, the likelihood of hitting a home run from a professional pitcher is very low because you're not ready for it. You don't know what to expect. Don't expect yourself to hit a home run in the first try, right? You need to set your expectations that it's going to be a long step-by-step process. You're going to grow, you're going to learn, you're going to evolve, and it will work. It just is a matter of time, okay? Investing should be incredibly low at the beginning, like $50 per campaign. run it based on one variable. I'm targeting this keyword, I'm targeting this group of people, and then change that variable every time to find new variables that you can include or change to see what works better. And then as you see sales, you can increase your ad spend so you can see if the ROI keeps up with that ad spend based on those variables. So for us, a lot of the times, $200 in a campaign is enough to get the data to understand what people are doing. And then you can move on and put another $200 into the next campaign and so on. So you might be spending a few $1,000s over a couple of months to get your ads up and running, to learn the data. But those ads are allowing you to learn, allowing you to grow, allowing you to evolve your business, which is more than worth the money you're spending. And you should be getting sales along the way to help offset some of that cost, right? So don't get me wrong. It's going to be a long process. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of energy. But once you figure out what works and you can scale that, that's where you're going to be making a lot of your money. So it's kind of like you have to get there to a certain threshold before you see the results, right? It's not going to be immediate. So one of the things I can't stress enough is around all of this. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I just want to note is Google Analytics, Metapixel, being able to track e-commerce data, if you're an e-commerce shop, being able to track lead data, being able to track phone calls, being able to track all of the inputs is going to allow you to see the data very clearly, so you know what's working, what's not working, and you're going to be able to see the disconnect. If you run a meta ad and you're able to track, okay, I had 400 people come to my website from this meta ad, and I was able to see that of 400 people, 20 of them purchased, and I have a net gross profit of this much, I'm able to really see, is that successful or not for me based on my ad spend, right? But if I don't track any of that, how am I supposed to know, right? And a lot of people that I've met get intimidated by this part, but this is actually it's probably the more complex technical pieces. But once you set these things up, they kind of stay and they keep running for you. So it's not actually as intensive or as crazy as people think, because once you have analytics working, once you have e-commerce tracking, once you have the pixel set up, you just kind of have to monitor it and you can go from there. So that's just one of my messages for everyone is don't spend money until you have all the pieces to collect the data to make every dollar spent worth it to you.
All right, and here we go. We're going to try to be really succinct here as we round things out before Q&A. But point number 5 here, right? So this is where it all leads back to this last question, right? And I can kind of pick it up from here, right? So does my site, does all my assets, does it convey my unique message or voice? There's a key understanding there that every entrepreneur, as Adam said, has a story, right? In many ways, it's a compelling story, right? As we can see on, Blanket and Board on social media, right? It's like people resonate because they know that there's a real person behind it, right? That's the weird thing about social media is that there's connectivity, right? There's human connection, but it's like, that's what people crave, right? So story is such a powerful tool. How do you tell your story, right? How do you focus on asking the right questions of your audience so that you can gain insight on how your voice can resonate with their story? Because here's the interesting thing, right? It's like, as the entrepreneur, you have the story that you're trying to tell. The person searching for the solution or the problem or the thing, they have their own experiences, right? And they're on their own journey towards self-discovery, if you will, right? Trying to figure out what the answer is to the thing. And your story is going to intersect with theirs, ideally, in a way in which it's like beneficial to both people, right? So just some key things to think about in terms of telling your story, right? It's something where you can share knowledge and experience and expertise, right? You can educate and inform, and you can inspire, right? All of those things can help capture attention from folks and really resonate. So as you're thinking about how to construct your story, which should lead into building a workflow around how to manage and plan your content, think about these larger questions. Why'd you go into business, right? What was the point? What was happening in your life? What were the circumstances that led to it? Usually, by and large, a lot of people have a really interesting story about that, right? I have one client that we've had that she sells gluten-free granola bars that are really tasty. And it's because in 20 years, she couldn't figure out why she was having so many different health issues that like were just a mystery to her until she like one day kind of did a food panel and came upon this realization that like, oh yeah, she needs to be operating like eating gluten-free. And so she tried that, as like a lot of people have. And it's like, oh, the options out there are pretty nasty. Like they're flavorless, they're not very good, right? So that led her to create her own brand around it, right? And then now she's been able to kind of get that in like lots of different Whole Foods and all that stuff. She's been featured, you know, in all these places. But like a lot of people have those kind of stories around that. What's the reason why you care about the thing that you care about or that you're involved in? You know, what sort of challenges or issues would you like to help others avoid in dealing with solving a particular problem, right? When did you discover your passion for doing what you do? And ultimately, like, how is life's outcomes going to improve? How's it going to become better for the people that you're trying to serve? In very simple ways or in very small ways, right? It can be everything from, well, now I have a babysitting service that I can really trust, or now I have a plumbing service that I can really trust, or, you know, now I have somebody where I know I can buy shoes that actually fit my feet, right? All of those little things and big things. So there's lots more to say on the story part, but we'll cap it off because there's a time. This last slide really here is it's just an illustration to say, as you're asking that question about what does it take to invest in all this stuff, right? It's, again, sometimes the numbers change based on the industry you're in and the size of your company and all of those different things, right? And so the estimates can kind of vary quite a bit. But the point that we keep coming back to is, before you try to get out there and make a big investment, right? Start with increasing your knowledge. Start with being empowered with the tools and build the process in place. Have a process before you invest, right? That's the main point. All right. Yeah. So that's Drippy in some, and we got some ways for folks to get started. We'll go into Q&A here, but I just want to quickly highlight this point here, right? So for anybody that wants to follow up with us, here's a really simple way to do it, is just, click that link or just go to that gigroots.co on our website /Drippy. And it's just going to take you straight to a page. It's an internal page that we just kind of ask some questions about, trying to get to know you and understand who you are and what it is you're trying to accomplish, right? And then that gives us a chance to follow up with you. We got some exciting things, right? As ourselves, it's like Adam and myself, we're working on, our partnership with Entrepreneurs Forever and other ESOs. We got a lot of interesting things being developed out for this year, right? Our digital boot camp is going to add to all of this stuff. And it's going to be really engaging and fun and not boring. It's going to be like engaged learning, right? So we've got a lot of different things to talk about, a mobile app coming soon, all of that stuff. But this is a way for you guys to follow up with us directly.
Okay. Let me stop recording. Hold on.